So welcome to Back to Basics number 4 of 10, almost halfway there, evaluating assignments and activities. That's what we're going to talk about today. So for those of you who are watching the recording, I will put the link to this infographic in the description so you can have access to that. And I will put any other important links that I show today also in the description so you have access to those as well. So unlike the other Back to Basics workshops that I've done today, I'm not going to suggest you use the old school paper and pen. Today, I'm going to suggest that when you take stock of what you have in your courses, in terms of the type of activities and assignments that you have in each of your course modules, if you're teaching in an online class or a blended class, if you're teaching face-to-face, I don't know how you have your course planned, okay? But if you take stock of what you have planned in terms of your course lessons, I suggest using either a spreadsheet or a Word document to lay that out. There's a reason for that. I'm going to get to that reason in just a second. But having it in a computerized format will help you, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But that might be probably the most time-consuming part, is kind of just going through and seeing what do you have the students doing each week of your course, especially if you're teaching face-to-face, right? If you're not using the learning management system as a support for your class, then you kind of have to go through and see, okay, what am I having them do each week? But having the learning management system there with all of the content is a lot easier because you have it all laid out for you right there. You just dig into the module and you see. Now, if you're using the modules in a way that everything's really clear right when you log into Canvas, you don't have to dig into the module. It's like right there. It's even easier because you don't have to dig into the module. It's like, oh yeah, this is what they have to do. Let me just write that down on the spreadsheet, type that in on the spreadsheet, or type that in the Word document and see what they have going on. So you can do this yourself. You can also do this with the help of an instructional designer. So if this is not something that you have time to do, that you can ask a designer to help you to take stock of what you have going on. And you can just say, hey, listen, I really want to do an evaluation of my course assignments and activities. And so I need to take a look, take an inventory, and I don't have time to do it. And that can be something that the designer can do for you and take an inventory of that. Once you have that inventory done, it's going to be pretty easy for you to see what type of variation you have, if you have variation at all. You might notice that, wow, I have a lot of just quizzes and papers, or I just have papers and exams, or I just have discussions and exams. That's all I have my students doing. That's not bad, but it might not be very engaging. And students might want something a little bit different. And you might want something a little bit different because you might get bored grading the same things and reading the same things over and over and over and over again. So it's as much to benefit you as it is to benefit your students to change things up just a little bit. I don't know who popped in, but I just threw the link to this infographic in the chat. Anybody who just popped in. So once you have that, so look at that and count. Okay, how many short quizzes do I have? Do I have like short formative quizzes? Do I have long exams? Do I have short papers? Do I have case studies? How many discussions do I have? Do I have any group work? Do I have any projects? Right? So count it all up and see. And if you are not familiar enough with evaluating those things and saying, do I need to do better at this? Is this okay? That's when you call on City to come in and help you and say, hey, can I do better? Or if you want, you can use AI. I don't know if you've ever used AI or not, but you can. Is Peg in the room?
Peg's in the room. Sorry, Peg was multitasking. What was
Hi, Peg.
that?
I just asked if you were in the room.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely here.
So one of the things that you can do is you can use Copilot. You can use whatever other AI you have access to, and you can just ask AI. So if you have it on a Word doc or you have it on a spreadsheet, you can talk to AI and say, I'm teaching a course in, all right, let's see who's here. Catherine Piper, what's a course that you teach? Anybody can answer.
Teach diagnostics for the APRN.
I'm teaching diagnostics for the APRN, and these are the types of assignments I have my students doing. List them out. I want to have more active learning. I want to have more collaborative learning. I want to have more whatever. What do you suggest that I do? Ask AI for some ideas. And AI will give you some ideas. That's going to be the quickest thing for you to do, is to use generative AI. It's going to be quicker than a designer. I'm not trying to take away my designers' jobs by any means, but if you're comfortable using AI, it's going to be really quick. Or you can ask an instructional designer to help you use AI. If you're just like, haven't done this before and you're not sure how to ask AI the right prompt to get what you're looking for, you can have a designer help you do that initially. Peg put in the chat, yeah, you can upload your syllabus and ask for assignment ideas. You will be shocked at what AI gives you in terms of
Not
ideas.
and not to derail, but if I could just have a minute to kind of riff on the AI and course development or assessment development. You can set up projects within most of the AI platforms now. So you can create your course as a project within an AI, within Copilot, whatever tool you want to use, right? Upload your syllabus, upload your other documents, your weekly schedule, your what assessments you already have, what your rubrics are. Put all of it up there and then just ask it to generate what you need. And it will give you the directions to the assignment that will be way more thorough than anything you've ever written. I guarantee it, just because it thinks of everything. It'll give you the directions to the assignment. It'll give you the rubrics for the assignment. It'll give you the everything you need so that the students can then perform the task that you need them to do and get it right the first time.
Yeah,
It's pretty amazing.
for sure. So that's one reason why I had suggested that you when you're doing your inventory, that you do it in either in a spreadsheet or a Word document, so you can have that to upload into a generative AI tool. So if you're not comfortable using generative AI, that's totally fine. But come up with alternative ideas, especially active learning. And so we have videos on our City YouTube channel about active learning. So this is our City YouTube channel here. It's also linked at the bottom of this infographic. Okay. You can go up to the search bar and you can search for, the search right here within our channel and search for active learning. And you can look for our videos about active learning. You can also go into T3. T3 for faculty, this is our faculty resource course that we have created for faculty. Everybody has access to it. And this is the active learning section right here. We give you ideas. There's links here. Project-based learning is my absolute favorite. And creating a semester-long project as part of your course assignment and activity load is just my favorite thing to do. And so each of your, like maybe every other week, you have an assignment that contributes to the bigger project. And usually if you have it something that is relatable to the world of the student, whether it's their community or something that they believe strongly in, it's that much more realistic for the student, and they're that much more dedicated to doing that particular work. Anyway, using cases, getting them service learning, that's kind of part of what I was talking about. But this is all in T3, and there's multiple pages in this module. This is T3. If you've never been in T3, you need to get in T3. Okay, I'm going to get out of the student view, and I'm going to throw in the link to T3. It is a where is it?
I just popped it in there for you.
Thank you. You add yourself to it. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and AI, all kinds of teaching related things in T3.
Oh, you wanted I'm sorry, I didn't put the sign up link. I'll do that. The first is just a link to the course, which will prompt them to enroll.
Yeah, you can enroll in that. And here's also a website. This is more for active learning face-to-face. So if you're teaching a face-to-face course, the University of Georgia has a wonderful page on some active learning techniques you can use in your face-to-face classroom. Okay. And also, like I said, you can always use an instructional designer if you don't feel comfortable using your own brain power and you're just like, I just need somebody to tell me what to do. That's when you can call on the designers. I want to give the instructional designers some kudos right now, in that our brand new provost, I got to meet her yesterday, and she just said that she has heard nothing but wonderful things from faculty about the instructional designers in City. And that made me so proud.
Yay.
I was like, and I literally did that. Like that, because that's the best. That's the best thing ever, is to hear faculty talking proudly and positively about their interactions with these instructional designers and the impact that they have working with the designers, and why it's so important to reach out for any kind of help that you might need. And this for assignments and activities, it's one of the big ones. So once you realize that your course needs a little bit of help with assignments and activities, it's time to kind of make a plan. So decide, where do you want to make some changes? Pick that out, pick those specific areas. Or do you want to do a massive overhaul? Do you just want to change a couple of weeks? So decide what you would like to do, and then give yourself a timeline of when you would like to do it. You can do it by yourself, with a designer. Just make that kind of plan. And then use a developmental shell to work on that course during that particular time frame. This is why it's helpful to use a designer, because you have somebody to kind of keep you on that goal of, let's say you want to take a whole semester to get the course revised. And you can set mini goals with that designer, say, okay, every month I want to work on this. So let's make an individual goal to get the course ready for the next semester. Or let's say you only teach this course once a year. So you have an entire year to do kind of an assignment activity overhaul. And if you have somebody, it's kind of like saying you want to exercise more and having an exercise buddy. It's so much better to have an exercise buddy than to just have yourself, right, as an accountability person, because you're just so much more apt to do it if you have somebody calling you or texting you. Hey, are you on your treadmill? You know what I mean? So if you use that dev shell, you can work on that revised version of the course as you're teaching and doing your other things. So yeah, the designers don't hound you. And everything is done very gently and very kindly. And then this is the end of the infographic. And then I have the link to our YouTube channel there for you to go in and check out the active learning and things about assignments and activities in there. So one of the things that I want to highlight about is using quizzes is not a bad thing. And quizzes might get a negative rap, but there's definitely room to use short, low stakes, formative quizzing in your course. It keeps students honest about doing readings. It helps you feel better that you're keeping them accountable for what you're asking them to do, but it also helps their brains. It also helps form those connections, those connections in their brains for recall of information. I think where we go wrong is using those quizzes high stakes, making them high stakes, where students freak out and they feel like, oh my God, I have to cheat. You know, it's worth so much, I have to cheat. Or, you know, making it so scary that it's anxiety inducing. So I don't think that you should fear using quizzes in your classes. It's just sort of a rethinking how you use them is the focus. So, any questions or comments? Anything from the design staff in the meeting that they want to add?
No, I just think I think if I were to add anything, you know, it's not really an ad even, it's just a in support of. It's just really important not to pigeonhole yourself or limit yourself in using one form of assessment or another, right? Anytime you can connect it to what the students are actually doing in their life and in their studies is going to make it more relevant and more engaging for them. So that's always the one thing that I always try to do is, as I'm thinking of my assessments or as I'm putting it into AI, that's one of the rules that I generate. Is that whatever I choose for an assessment has to have immediate relation to whatever they're doing in real life. And when they can see that relationship, or if I take the time to explain that relationship in my directions, they suddenly put more work into it because it matters to them. We have to make it matter to them, not to us.
Well, thank you, Peg. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, always include students in the process.
Yeah.
Get their take on whether it worked or not, especially if you're integrating something new into your curriculum, and just, you know, do it exit ticket or some other type of, or even ask them just informally, hey, did that activity help you help reinforce or clarify any of the content that you're learning? I like to, and I think I've rung this bell a few times, but just often advise faculty, if there's a particular topic, objective, which would you see that your students continually struggling with, maybe on their final assessment or whatever, maybe that's an area where you want to integrate more low stakes or even no stakes active learning activities just to help them practice without risk of failure, to reinforce and seek clarification on things that they might be struggling with, because they may not tell you that they are, but you may see it in their those final assessments. So that's a good way if you're looking to make some changes but don't have the time to overhaul, maybe first sort of hone in on one of those areas that you think where students could use additional practice.
Yeah, and it could be something as simple as a Quizlet that
Yeah.
you find. You don't even have to make it. You find a Quizlet on that topic area and it gets embedded in Canvas. It's an activity that they play in your Canvas shell. It's like flashcards or a game. And it's just extra help. It's extra, and it's fun. And it doesn't take much time at all for you to do that.
This
Yeah.
is really helpful. Thank you all for putting this together.
You're
Guess-
welcome.
Yeah, on that topic with evaluating students' performance on exams, is there a way to break down what topic areas students as a class tended to struggle with? So I used question items from different banks of questions based on, like, say we're testing on 3 main modules or topic areas. Is there a way to kind of evaluate the test based on those topic areas and how students scored
Mhm.
comparatively?
Yeah, you can dig into the analytics of the particular exam. Yeah, you can do that. You just have to dig into that. You can ask a designer, or you can even ask Daniel Martin in City to help you get into the analytics of those particular questions, and you'll be able to see that.
Yeah, and I think those quiz analytics can be very useful when you get down to the nitty-gritty item analysis piece, especially if you are aligning questions with objectives, which you can note in the quiz itself, or the quiz questions itself. Then you can more easily determine, okay, so maybe this objective isn't necessarily being met using my existing, learning content and activities based on student performance on that particular question where an objective is measured. The quiz analytics can help you with that. Yeah.
Or the question, or it's the way the question is asked.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
You got to drill into what's happening.
Right.
Are they not learning it, or is this question poorly written? Right?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things, but we can help you with either of those.
Yeah, and I think I've sometimes found, and not to suggest that this is the case with your course or quizzes, Catherine, is that faculty have sometimes inherited courses and maybe some of the content has been moved around or a guest speaker has been moved to a later week, but the course hasn't been evaluated for an alignment and some time with the existing assessments. And so, they may have not even seen that perhaps, oops, I'm testing my students on a content piece that I've moved to a later part of the term. So that's an obvious, misalignment, but I think just taking stock of those things can very easily point out where that has occurred, and that can be completely an accidental oversight. But yeah, I think if you're interested in digging into quiz analytics or other ways that you can determine that alignment, we can certainly help you with that. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Take care, everybody.